Right, welcome to Brief History Conspiracy. This week we are doing Nazi Bell. We're going to be... We're going to be talking about Roswell, Kecksburg, the Philadelphia experiment, Operation High Jump, and a 1936 UFO crash in Germany. Right, so if you're new to our channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really does help us out. Right, so 1936, Freiburg, Germany. Allegedly, a UFO crashed in the Black Forest region.
Yep. There's a good picture of it.
Oh, no, now you sod. Now I've got to find that picture. Okay, you need to send it me. Right, for the edit, please.
Is that, I can't remember. There's a German one and there's a Russian one, isn't there? There's a Russian one where there's like half a flying saucer sticking out of the ground with a load of military blokes stood round it. I think that might be the Russian one.
I've not seen that. Okay, you're gonna have to find that as well. You got homework before I do the edit. Right, so yeah, this story started. It appeared in about 2000 when this Igor Witkowski wrote Prada der Wunderwaffe. We'll come back to that guy in a bit, but let's talk about the story. So basically, it's this wonder weapon. It was supposed to be the ultimate weapon that would end the war. And even when, the Russians and American and British were knocking on Hitler's front door, this weapon could still win the war for Germany. So what do we think it was?
Well, there's two schools, isn't there, of thought that the atomic bomb, or potentially the something else that they were working on in the deep classified research in many different areas that the Nazis were doing.
I mean, we know the Germans were trying to build a nuclear weapon. We talked about in our last episode about how Heisenberg was trying to block attempts. There's stories about how when the nuclear weapon went off in the camps in Germany, because we'd already captured Heisenberg and his friends, Operation Paperclip had already started, that they all went, it's impossible, they can't have set off, and it didn't work. And Heisenberg just went up to a blackboard and drew the calculation and said, no, this is how they did it. And that's the rumor that he knew the whole time how they could get there. There was also, the Norwegians, there was in the hydroelectric power plants in Norway, they were trying to build the heavy water, which is important for uranium enrichment. And the Norwegians just kept sabotaging it and knocking them out. And between 1940 and 44, they just attacked these plants so many times that the Germans just could not keep up and build what they needed. So thank you, Norway.
Yes, I was about to say that. Thank you, Norway. Yes, so
you may have literally saved the world, man.
A quiet job that needed doing. Well done. Yes.
Yeah. So if the Germans did sort of capture a UFO, one of the theories is that it gave them insights into how to build a nuclear weapon. Story also. Sorry, go on.
Just understanding the fuel source. Yeah. How the hell the thing travels between the stars and defies our current understanding of propulsion and inertia.
Yeah,
that's really going to get your scientists thinking down whole different lines of thinking as soon as you've got.
Definitely, yeah. But also, there's theories that we've talked about in previous episodes as well about how flying saucers possibly crashed in America in the early 30s and very early 40s. The rumor goes that that's how their Manhattan Project began as well. And that gave them the same. So there was a race between two countries, Germany and America. But was it to build a nuclear weapon, or was it to build something a bit more exotic? Because
I was going to say, when you think about the land masses, like America, like it covered, North America and I suppose the United States of America kind of outstretches its resources into South America as well, doesn't it? It probably has retrieved crashed vehicles from all of the Americas, not just North America. And then you think about
influence was across the whole region. Yeah.
So I think Russia and America are the two countries to look at most heavily for crash retrievals, just because of the pure land mass that they would be covering retrievals from.
Yeah,
that's an interesting point.
If we think they were trying to build some sort of anti-gravity device, which is one of the rumors, that's why you see this structure, this circular concrete structure in
forget where it
was.
It
Wrocław. I've written it down. Where is it? Wrocław in Poland. And the Polish names, we did the episode on China a few weeks ago, and that was a nightmare. Saying all the names for things. Polish names are even worse.
Yeah.
Wachowski claims this is where the bell was tested, secured to the earth in this concrete structure. But was this the test program that led to the Nazi flying saucers?
If it is this reverse engineered engine, right? So this anti-grav engine, they were trying to build a flying saucer basically, and the project name was the Repulsine. Apparently, that was the name of their project to build a flying saucer. Now, there are some rumors to say the Americans also had a project to build a flying saucer, and they called them the S1s for saucer, I suppose. But there was lots of experiments that they were seemingly inspired by these crashes, and one of the famous ones is the Philadelphia experiment, popularized by Joseph P. Farrell in his book. He wrote that the USS Eldridge in Philadelphia shipyard was doing an experiment into cloaking technology using electromagnetic energy in this unified field theory that you probably know more about than I do. It was Einstein's theory. And he basically says you can use magnetic energy in a strong enough field to bend light around the ship.
During their attempt to build a Klingon-style cloaking device, witnesses saw an eerie green glow, and then the Eldridge disappeared, appearing momentarily in Norfolk Naval Base before transporting back to the naval yard. Some of the crew had gone crazy, but even worse for the rest, many of the crew had been found still alive, but fused into the hull.
And then there's loads of rumours and popular myths about then what happened, you know, like how the vessel phased, people were falling through the deck and then, you know, being like cut in half by the ship and everything, or it just disappeared and was never seen again. And these stories aren't really true.
No, I imagine there's some exaggeration in some of these, yes.
Just a bit. I actually suspect the Philadelphia experiment didn't happen at all. I don't think it was true, even remotely. I think there was an experiment going on at the time in the Philadelphia shipyards regarding like minesweepers. So they would demagnetize the hull so that magnetic mines can't attach themselves to the ship. That happened at the same time. So I think there's maybe a little bit of Chinese whispers or something going on, and somebody's
maybe
sort of...
that seems quite a logical technology for a ship to want to have, isn't it? Like,
yeah, we still have those ships today. They still use the same thing.
Field that stops you.
It actually pushes the mine away.
It repulses repels the mines.
Yeah. So the Philadelphia experiment in 1943, I should add, is possibly not true. But then we have experiments. We have things like the Foo Fighters in Germany. Could that have possibly been actually maybe Nazi experiments?
Well, possibly, but probably not, because the Foo Fighters during World War II, both sides thought it was the other side's secret technology.
And they were seen so often as well as the problem. There was seen a lot of them.
And the Foo Fighters were more of the light orbs, weren't they? They weren't actual sort of identifiable metallic objects flying at incredible speeds that were outmaneuvering them.
Yeah.
They were just orbs of light more that they saw in the skies.
Yeah, the photos we've seen of them are like that as well.
I tend to think that that's probably more likely something interested in all the destruction that's going on the Earth and coming into our dimension and making themselves slightly visible, only perhaps
probes
as light, or they're just watching what we're up to.
Yeah. So I did wonder this about how if the Nazis did build a flying saucer, right, would you be able to arm it? Would you be able to put guns on it? If you've got an intense magnetic field that has to surround the entire vehicle.
There's drawings of a Nazi flying saucer, isn't there, with a 50 cal mounted on the underside on like a turnable but I mean generally serious, would a gun work if it was attached to such a device? That's what I was trying to get my head around. I just wonder whether actually the strong enough magnetic field wouldn't allow you to put anything on the outside of the vessel anyway, but that's maybe not understanding the science. It'd be very dangerous to fire a bullet forward when you're traveling faster than the speed of the gun, because it's probably just going to rip back through the gun or through the ship.
we did our Battle of LA episode, and a lot of people come back and went, that was a Nazi flying saucer, right? But it didn't fire on anything. It just sat there and absorbed gunfire and just sort of like, look, I'm here and you can't do anything about it. Now, I was wondering, maybe they didn't fire, they didn't do anything because they couldn't at the time. The technology, they didn't know how to mount a weapon on the damn thing because of the intense magnetic field that surrounds. I just imagine like dropping a bomb out of it, and the bomb just sort of sits there and it can't come out of the magnetic drop out. Or a gun, you fire and the bullet gets pulled back at you because of the magnetic field or something. I don't know, but that was my thinking, that maybe the Battle of LA happened the way it did because Germany was showing off, but they couldn't actually do anything with it, which would then make the whole technology for wartime virtually useless. Really.
Well, yes. Well, apart from, I suppose, surveillance. But yeah, I'm sure they were coming with ways to mount weaponry to these ships. It wouldn't be quite. There might be some dangers of using certain, I suppose, mechanical weapons when you've got some kind of anti-gravity propulsion system that's essentially, well, what they reckon is the way anti-gravity works is that it basically rips a vortex in the space-time continuum, doesn't it? So the craft's pulled into that vortex, and that's how you break the speed of light and therefore travel between the stars within lifetimes. Yeah.
So again, guns might not be very effective, but if anything that human beings are really good at is taking something and turning it into a weapon. So I'm sure we'd have figured out. Maybe not during the war though. Maybe not in time. So there are lots of rumors then that if the Americans and the Nazis were trying to build this device, that maybe some of the more famous UFO sightings over the years are actually human tests. So there's talk about Roswell in 1947. One theory actually was that was the Nazi Bell was a time machine, and it did pop through that vortex you were talking about, and actually it then appeared and crashed in Roswell in 47. Not a theory I personally have any, but again, a time travel machine, if you could get it to work, would be a wonder weapon. That would, because you could go back and change things, I suppose.
It certainly would be it could be classed as a wonder weapon. Yeah.
It would work, but I've always thought that a time travel machine, I can always see that time traveling forwards is doable. I don't see how you could possibly time travel backwards.
And it's the grandfather paradox that kind of you go back and kill your granddad.
Yeah, but I just mean from the way I understand the physics of it, you could almost take a time machine that like takes you out of the space-time continuum. You have a magnetic field enough, and you slow time down within that object, and then you just then reappear in the future. Right now, I can understand the physics of that. I can't understand the physics of how you would potentially go back.
A modern understanding of physics doesn't allow for the going backwards in time. You can only slow the passage of time
down a bit,
relativistically. Therefore, you could technically slow. So you can travel forward in time at any speed relative to anything else. Therefore, you could end up but you can't go backwards.
No. So let's get rid. No, it's not a time machine. So let's just scrap that idea. And let's not start talking about it in any depth because we'll be here all day.
Don't say it's not possible. It might be possible in the future. Many men have regretted saying things aren't possible.
I mean the Nazi Bell wasn't a time machine. Let's scrap that theory.
Yeah, okay.
All right. And like I said, we'll get into it, and that's start talking about time travel and getting into that. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit to Operation High Jump then. It didn't feel like a scientific expedition. It felt like an invasion.
Felt like a search and destroy.
Yeah, that's a battle group.
Yeah.
You watch some YouTube videos and you'll think that they then had a fight with the Nazis and got their butts kicked, and that they lost ships, they lost hundreds of men, they did a